Hi, my name is Louis Taylor. I'm a composer and producer based in Bristol, UK. Today I'm doing a video on Skyrim's Tavern music and how it can be made. So I've made a short demo of a piece of music that would fit right into Skyrim's Tavern scenes. When you walk into the Banded Mare or the Dead Man's Drink or something like that, and a great piece of music just hits you in the face as soon as you walk in the door and you want to cozy up by the fire and grab a flagon of mead and sit down and enjoy the environment there. So I'm today using a number of different libraries and I'm going to get into that now, but first of all, let's take a listen to the piece itself. Great, so that's the demo. Basically, I'm using a few main libraries here, and one of the ones that I wanted to showcase today is a new one called Hearth Hollow by Hunter Rogerson, and he's an amazing sample library artist for Piano Book, on Piano Book, which is a great library of sample libraries, basically virtual instruments, and pretty much all of them are free, but they're doing this new thing called an artist collection, and some of them you can pay for, and basically you buy them through the Spitfire Audio app. They're licensed through Contact, so you can have them on the actual Contact side wheel, and I'll just show you that now. So this is a really, really nice library, and it looks a bit like this, and he's got a great video on it already that you should check out on his YouTube channel where he just goes into the details of it all. So I'm just going to show you exactly what I've done to make it work within my composition, but he's got a great video on it, so I recommend that. It's got this really, really nice user interface. I'm going to just go down to the ensemble patch here, and it's got this really, really nice UI. So first of all, you're struck with this arrange. Now, arrange is essentially it's an ensemble patch, like you can see, and it's got all of these instruments here, these 7 instruments, a little ensemble of instruments, and they're sat in this room. And the cool thing is that you can just move them around. And if you watch this mandolin one here, the volume and panning will change depending on where you move it around the room. So it's very interactive, and it feels good to do that and play around with it rather than having to just look at knobs, because you can get a sense of how it would really sound in the room. This other knob here looks amazing, bleed. You can get this really nice animation here which just looks stunning and very vibrant. Can't remember where I had it now, but it doesn't matter. It basically makes the sound a lot more open, and it sounds like less close, less focused, basically, and you can have a listen to that in a minute. I've actually muted the dulcimer on this patch because I wanted to control the dulcimer separately. Now, this library also goes really well with his other library, which is free, called the Wild Mother Dulcimer. And by the way, this library costs, this Hearth and Hollow one costs about 79 pounds, dollars, and euros, I think, from the Spitfire website. And in my opinion, it's well worth it. It's one of the most nicely sampled libraries I've ever listened to or played. It's so playable, and you can make all of these sound great. The great thing is that it comes with all of these instruments as individual patches too, so you can have complete control over them all, and they're kind of layered here on the keyboard so you can see which one's going to be where. So the great thing is it's got all these different grooves. So if we look here in the presets, you've got the mixes basically, so you can change all the mixes presets, but obviously you can make your own. But it's got these articulations. So this one is set to grooves. So let's see here if we can just get that set up. Yeah, there's quite a lot of bleed on that. So yeah. So you get the idea with that, and it's all tempo synced, by the way, but you can actually select whether you want it to be 90 BPM or 110 BPM, which is the way he recorded it, and it works quite well. If you want to go a bit higher in the tempo, you can set it to the 110. If you want to do a bit lower, it's 90, and it works well either way to have those options. So that's that. And it's also got these other articulations here: tremolo, pluck, brush, and blossom. Blossom's really cool. I didn't use it that much in this one because it didn't really fit this particular vibe, but if you were having a bit more of a dancey, folky tavern song, then, which I'm going to do another video on, by the way, I've got that pre-written here too, but I'm going to make another video on this one. There's a lot more going on there in terms of the rhythm and the different articulations. This one's a lot more simple and stripped back. It's just one of the reasons I wanted to start with it. Now, as you can probably tell if you're a Skyrim fan already, like I am, this is obviously very, very, tightly based off of the tavern music that exists in Skyrim already. I didn't want to drift too far away from the style or the structure of some of the existing songs there, primarily because I wanted it to be this specific style and see how I could make the instruments from this match that. If I were Jeremy Soule, for example, and I wanted to create a demo for Skyrim and I was composing it, I might use these libraries to do so, and that's what I'm trying to demo here. Now, I could have gone and written my own piece, but I just felt like writing a similar piece, and it is still my own piece. It's just very similar, so that's fine. It's not a real commission or anything. It's just for demo purposes, and I think it sounds really nice with these instruments. So moving on, we've got these really nice sounding brush strokes. So let me just show you what they sound like. You can get really quiet with them. So that sounds really nice. And if I just turn the reverb off, you can understand how close it sounds. Uptight and close, and I love that sound. So if we just have a little listen, I think I've got these on very quiet sounding. Yeah, that's basically almost as quiet as I wanted it. Some of them are as quiet as you can get almost. The reason for that is that they come out with so much detail there, and here's another thing I love about this library: he's meticulously recorded the noises and the release sounds of these instruments. So if I turn this noises all the way up, you can hear as you're going up the strings. If I turn it down, you can hear all the noises being made, and releases. So it's got that dum ba rather than ba You see what I'm saying? So if you just listen without releases one more time, just with releases, and that's kind of why I wanted those noises. For me, adds so much realism, and just with these instruments alone, it sounds very realistic. Now, I will add the bass instrument, which I wish this had a bit more of a bass in there, to be honest with you, but it doesn't, and it's got some really nice cello and guitar that comes down here anyway, which is really, really welcome. But the bass that I use is actually a bolon from the West Africa collection from Native Instruments. Now, this instrument fits really well into basically any folk music because it's so authentically recorded, and it's such a nice, what's the word? It's just a really nice ethnic instrument, basically, that sounds very well-rounded, and it fits into almost any of these folk styles. It was almost like a double bass, but kind of like African. And it's not quite 100% well-tuned, because it wouldn't be, because as you can see on the instrument picture there's no frets or anything. You have to kind of just play it as by your ear, which is part of what makes it even more folky, because it's all about your ear in folk music. But luckily it makes for a great bass. And it gets louder as you go through. So if I just play them together. Down the end here. So that's nice. Now, the other thing that I added in here was this really nice, I think it's just a steady chug groove. And now this basically sounds like this. Tempo synced. So all these instruments, all these notes here in red at the bottom are the bass chug. It's actually low rhythm, high lead. So low rhythm, boom, boom, high lead, you can play whatever you want, you know. And it still includes a lot of the articulation, so if you press down really hard, that top velocity layer has like a little blossom. Which is nice within certain limits, you know. And when used sparingly, it can be a really nice thing that adds so much quality and realism to this instrument. So I've just got that groove coming in, because I wanted the piece to start picking up in the pace, and that's what that sounds like. Yeah, and I really like that sound. Now, moving on from that, I've got this really nice, it says fiddle, but it's not called fiddle. It's actually a different groove, okay? And this one is beautiful. So it's groove combo. So you can adjust however you want. They've gotten set. Here's the different things you can set up here. You can put it so it's triplets, eights, or just these grooves they've got. And this is a mixture of all of them, really. Mainly just quarters and eights. And it's a very straight groove, but I've got them playing brushes, I think. Oh no, sorry, this is plucked. They're all plucked, and they're playing this really nice groove, and I'm just going to show you what that sounds like. And what's the really nice thing about this one is that if you move up the modulation wheel, it starts to open up the sound as well. And that actually couples with the dynamic layering too. See, so it does go up and down in volume. Get them really soft. So that's really nice. And essentially what I've done here is, if I look into this, I've got my chords here, just some basic chords, nicely spaced out, as cleanly written as I could have done. And I've got the modulation that slowly gets more and more open as you go forward. So as the song becomes more emotionally intense, it gets to that arc and it opens up. And the velocity layer starts to increase here too, whereas they start very quiet at the beginning. So altogether, that sounds like this. To me, that sounds like real recordings, and with the reverb, it sounds even nicer. Now, originally, I set up this reverb so that it was dark backroom, very low mix, just dry, as I kind of just a space, just a unified space. But then I kind of listened to the Skyrim music, and as much as I loved that sound that I had, where it was basically like this. Which kind of just sounds like they're sort of, or even if I have it like that, where they're kind of just off in the back of the, slightly darker, smaller, but quite open room. Basically, what I did in the end was turn it up to about this. Because actually, this particular song I based off of one that often plays when you go into the Hearth Tavern, and it's so cold sounding in there, so stone. There's a lot of reverb, and I actually really like the sound of that open, reverberant space, especially in this more emotional, darker, sadder, quite frankly, piece of music. But it does get more uplifting as you go through to the end, and the chords change, and I'll explain a bit more about that once I've gone through the rest of the instruments. So that's that with Hearth and Hollow, and I won't lie, that's pretty much all of it, but there are some extra percussion instruments, which I also made use of, and it's an extra patch, basically, that you get a really nice bang for your buck with, and there's a few nice instruments, so that sounds a bit like this. And it's just some nice folky instruments. And I kind of imagine a couple of guys there with some drums in the background playing that. Now, there are other instruments like these banjos. Now, bear in mind, I've got a lot of compression on that right now. It can sound very... And I've got these guitars here too. Oh, So that's really nice, and they've got all the other instruments too. Now, moving on from the Hearth and Hollow, I will just quickly mention these dulcimers. So first of all, I've got the Wild Mother dulcimer, which is a really nice UI once again by Hunter, and it's a very Skyrim-y sounding dulcimer. It's not too bright, it's pretty dark actually, and it sounds very realistic, but it fits well into that old-fashioned medieval tavern style. You see, I've also got, doubling with that, the Spitfire. This is the original Spitfire Laboratories, which is ages before now. They used to have these Spitfire Labs first when they came out, and they stopped them all, and then they're re-releasing them now, and it's bigger than ever. But you used to pay like £1 for them, I think. And it was just easy to load, I think. Slightly different to the dulcimer on Labs. I think it can go much lower, which is why I chose it. But basically, it's very bright, and I kind of wanted that too. It's got a little bit more depth to it, bit more brightness. So coupled together, what I've got is very quiet. Or if we go back here, those kind of tremolos, which sound really nice, coupled with some extra chords on the other dulcimer. So that's really nice. I didn't use the other dulcimer, which is actually the Labs one, which is not loading. Oh, so that's the difference. Oh. So you get the idea. Now, those are the dulcimers that I've used. Now moving on to the rest of the percussion, I've got a Spitfire BBC Symphony Orchestra tambourine, which is a really nice tambourine. You can make it sound close. Pretty simple. This one is an interesting sample called a cardboard box made by myself, which I may release on Piano Book one day. Actually made it for an episode of Cocomelon that I did a while ago called the Box Song or something like that, where they got a new box and they were playing with it. But I've used it loads. And I actually think it's a really nice sounding drum. It's got built-in reverb. It's got a big box, medium box, small box. So they've got a few round robins and a few dynamic layers. If I just turn off the reverb on this, very basic, but it's got a nice bit of bass and it sounds pretty just thumpy and stompy, and I kind of wanted that sound. And I've also got a djembe, which is my djembe, which you can see just behind me over there, and that sounds like this. And if we just go back to it without reverb, again, a few round robins, a few dynamic layers. I might put that on Piano Deck too, because why not? It's just a simple, basic djembe. I really like it. So that's that, basically. Let me know if you want that on Piano Book, and I will put it up there for you guys, because I think they're quite nice. I use them quite frequently, actually, because I just know that they're reliable, staple instruments that I use quite a lot of the time, even though it is just a cardboard box, so I just think it sounds quite nice. Now, moving on, I've got this amazing nickel harper sound from Fiddlesticks, and this is by Folklorica, which is a company by Lucy Treacher, who's Spitfire Audio's one of their composers. Brilliant composer, really great samplist, lovely person, and this is a really fantastic library, very tightly sampled, lots of different features. You've got these really nice long sounds in the middle here. Let's see if I can. And it's got these bass sounds. And then it's got these little diddle. And finally some harmonics. So they're really nice, and I just used it for those long notes every now and then, and that fit really well with these fiddles I've got and the cello. So the cello is there to provide a little bit of depth. BBC Symphony Orchestra solo cello. Fiddle, they are just the violas from the BBC Symphony Orchestra library as well. Pretty simple. So yeah, nothing really special about that, but add a nice bit of filler altogether. Bit of depth there, open fifths, and finally the recorder, which is one of my favourite parts of this song. So this recorder is called Ivory Wind by Embertone. This was free. I don't know if you can get it anymore, but it's really great. So you should check it out if you can. You can do polyphonic. You can do monophonic, which is like legato. It's got round robins, it's got stage audio, like a reverb sound built into it. The only problem I had with it, well, there's two actually. Now, the first one is that there's no modulation, so there's only one dynamic layer. So I had to use the volume automation to get something, but it sounds pretty good. However, what's really nice is that with this very realistically sampled instrument, there's the modulation wheel actually controls the vibrato. So if I show you that. So coupled with that, I basically just modulated the audio in here with the MIDI volume, basically. Oh, no, I didn't. Where is it? It's just normal volume, I think. Where is it? There it is. Oh, that's odd. It's in there somewhere. Maybe it's main volume. Track. Interesting. It definitely has some volume automation, so yeah, you can see it moving around here. I don't know why I can't find it. Anyway, you get the gist there. One really nice thing that I learned is that some instruments, like a lot of Spitfire ones in Contact, but this one is one of them included, it didn't have any pitch bend included in it. It just wouldn't work. But there's something you can do about that. If you go through to Contact, and you go to the group editor, and then you come down here to Mod. Basically, oh, is that right? It's somewhere around here. Maybe it's in the... Oh no, it is in the group editor. I already had it open. So if you go down to Mod in the group editor here, you can essentially just add a pitch bend one, and it will just work. And the reason I did that is because there's this really nice quality that... Oh, here's the volume. It's come now. But the pitch bend adds some really nice realism to it. So if I just go down here, it's just a little bit on the end of these notes. I'll just solo it. Again with this one. So yeah, I just really like that, to be honest. I think in the mix it sounds really nice. It's kind of a nice professional recorder sound. I can't go wrong with it, to be honest with you. If you put a bit of time into making it sound good, it sounds fantastic. So that's it altogether. Now, moving on to the last section of this. So all of this is in a pedal A, like no harmony in there. You know, it's all just over the bass of an A. What I started to do was change it up so that everything was unifying in the harmony as the piece got more exciting. So this is something that I really like to do sometimes, to open up the piece from stopping it from feeling too melancholic, if you want to do that. So essentially I just changed the chord progression and I made it fit, and I really enjoy the chords in this. So I'll show you a bit about that. Now, along with the chords opening up, the sound opens up, everything starts to get louder, and I've added this extra percussion layer. Plus, one of my favourite things about this is that I've done quite a lot of tempo editing. Now here I've done it so that it's just a little bit sporadic and there's some changes to make it sound more realistic. But with this one, I wanted it to get faster and faster and faster towards the end, so that it started picking up, and then right at the end a little bit of a ritardando. So that slows down and it sounds very natural, and I really like the way that came out. Finally, the only other change is that I've actually changed the structure. With this one, it's a lot more ad-lib, you know, there's more time in between each melody, and I wanted it to sound natural in that sense. But with this one, and it doesn't matter because the chords are, you know, basically the same, but with this one, it's tight. It's every 3 bars the melody happens, whereas this one, it's kind of this one's 4.5. You know, it changes around a lot. So, maybe let's just have a listen to this final section again, so we can have a look at the tempo editing. We can see the chord progression as well. Maybe I will just open these up so you can see that, maybe with the melody as well. So here we go. Get the idea, basically. One other thing I did want to point out, just because I really like this chord progression, I think it's well worth considering using, is basically this. So as you can see here, what we've got is this nice quicker harmony, so that the harmonic pacing is faster, and you've got these nice cycles between D minor, E minor, I think. Oh, no, that's A minor. So it's D minor, A minor, back to D minor, D major, sus, resolves onto D major, then back to D minor again. And I just loved how that sounds. So honestly, I just want to hear the harmony do that. All together, I just love how it sounds. Love that kind of uplifting, and then back to, you know, that kind of sadness there, which is just super nice, and I just love it. You know, this chromatic little, and then it just ends quicker than you expect. A little 5/1 cadence there right at the end, which is just very simple but so effective and straight to the point at the end of the piece, and I just really like how that can come across, especially in this sort of folky music. It sounds so emotional in comparison to regular chord progression, so if you change up the pacing of that a little bit, I think it sounds a little bit more interesting. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for stopping by and getting to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. If you want to hear more music by me, you can go to my website. If you want to watch more videos, please check them out. I'm going to be making another Skyrim Tavern music video, which is a lot more upbeat and faster, which is this one here that I showed you earlier. And it's all using Hearth Hollow with a mixture of other instruments, so I will be checking that out. You should go and check out Hearth Hollow. It's in the description. Go and buy it. It's bloody brilliant, and you should really check out Hunter and support him. He's one of the finest sample library makers going at the moment, especially as an individual artist. He's done really well for himself to get onto Spitfire's radar, and I'm very impressed by it all, to tell you the truth. So definitely check that out, and thanks again for stopping by. Bye for now. See you next time.